Welcome to Indie Film Podcast. I'm Victoria.
And I am Chuck. This week we're going to be talking about fundraising failures. You got to have funds in order to have a film. If you don't have funds, you can't have a film. So what should you do if you can't raise enough funds, Victoria?
If I can't raise enough funds for my indie film, then I'm going to go back to my budget and start striking items. Or better yet, I'm going to learn how to market my film better. Like maybe getting it featured on a podcast.
Oh, that's a good way to get your film out there in front of people's eyes. Are we going to be doing that here soon as far as sponsorships are concerned?
We are.
Oh,
Thanks
nice.
for that lob, Chuck.
No problem.
Very softball throw to me. Thank you. Yes, actually, if you would like to have your film mentioned right now in the very beginning of an Indie Film Podcast episode to talk about your film in any way you want, we're going to be opening it up for sponsorships, which means you'll get your film right in front of an audience that actually cares about indie film.
That was a good pitch.
Thanks.
All right. Well, let's talk about indie film fundraising. I have a couple tricks that people can use. I have one single trick that people can use to raise a couple $1,000s extra if they have enough friends on their social media. We'll talk about that later. But do you have an example of famous films that fundraised uniquely? This is a lot of alliteration in this episode already.
This is a lot of F's and not even the fun ones.
No.
Though fun is another one.
And fund.
And fund.
We'll hit that one a lot.
Fun with fundraising.
What do you got for us?
Episode. Actually, I found the very first film that was successfully funded through crowdfunding, and I had no idea. It was in 1999.
Oh, dang.
Which means it was pre...
Chain letters. They used chain letters to fundraise this film. This alliteration is going to drive me crazy.
This is a lot of alliteration.
We're going to say money or something else because the fund film thing is going to drive me up a wall. But so they used chain letters to raise money, and everybody had to like mail in checks or mail in cash.
It was COD only.
Okay.
No, it was not. I assume it was still done with internet funding as well.
Right on, dial-up modem.
Yes.
Got to get on there. You really got to want it back in 1999 if you're going to put your money on the internet. I don't think people, like, credit cards, everybody was terrified of that in 99, putting their information on the internet.
Yeah.
Now we just do it willy-nilly.
Oh, are you kidding me? Everyone has it just linked to their phone now. You've got Google Pay and Apple Pay. You don't even use a credit card anymore. You just exist digitally for all this fake digital money. It's fun.
Nice. I'm going to talk a little bit about that too.
Oh, sweet.
Cryptocurrency. But we'll get into that in just a minute because a dude with a podcast needs to talk about cryptocurrency eventually. So episode 32 is the one where we do it. Why don't you talk about the first crowdfunded film?
So it was in 1999, as mentioned, and it's called Foreign Correspondence.
Okay.
Not to be confused with the Foreign Correspondent Hitchcock film.
Okay.
This one is
clearly
plural.
Not, because he was dead.
He was dead in
99.
He didn't make this film too. Nope. It's not a sequel. It's a little different, but it was just really cool to finally see, a film that this was the first time we've really marked society as a whole, or at least your friends and family, are excited enough about a film to tell enough other people about it that the people have spoken they want this film. And I think that's really cool and inspiring because crowdfunding now is not as successful.
Yeah, it's
Unfortunately,
tricky.
You just don't see films getting funded the way they used to on crowdfunding platforms back in even like 2015, 2017.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen as much, so...
If you waited, you missed it. Sorry. Just like buying a house. You're screwed if you didn't do this like 10 years ago. You already should, so that's our piece of advice this week.
You should have already crowdfunded
You should have
your film.
already created a film that you crowdfunded 10 years ago. So start working on that time machine if you haven't done that. I kind of want to, like, one of the people that took one of the biggest gambles in indie film history, I think, is Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And so Clerks, he basically funded with his credit card. And he also sold all of his comic books to make that movie, which I'm sure anybody watching this podcast already knows that story about Kevin Smith. But I think the thing that threw me off with his story was that because you look at that and you see his success moving forward, the assumption is that I'm good enough to be able to do the same thing that Kevin Smith did. And so myself and Lower Gentry Studios, which is also my brother and sister-in-law, we've been struggling through that with 3 feature films at this juncture where it's like, if we make it, then it'll happen. But it still hasn't. That doesn't mean it won't happen for you, but it's kind of a lottery ticket. And Kevin Smith, obviously, excellent writer. And I also want to kind of point out that he leaned into the Star Wars discussions in the movie Clerks, which we're learning. We're going to throw out some vertical video clips on this podcast itself, but we're learning that these Star Wars fans are like inherently engaged. And I just kind of wonder if the fact that they had some interesting dialogue about Star Wars, if that helps propel that film in popularity. I have no idea. Obviously, like hindsight's 2020 and it's all speculation, but
well, this is going to show a little bit of my ignorance, I guess. Clerks was in the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in the 90s, I feel like we saw a big shift to very conversational, relatable dialogue.
Yeah, good point.
And I think that just worked really well. So yes, nerds are very engaged people. I say nerds with love as a nerd.
Likewise.
So, they're very engaged. They're excited. They're passionate about something or some things and their specific fandom, and they want to hear people talk about it. They want people to be involved in it.
Yeah.
It's exciting. So anytime you talk about any of these major IPs, you're going to see every fan come out of the woodwork and have a lot of opinions about it. What's kind of fun, though, is that nerds will go the extra mile and do the extra research and do a lot of extra digging about it. So it's kind of fun to see all the little nods and details that they know that I'm like, how on earth did you find this out? Like, did you read the diary of one of the PAs on set for Star Wars? How did you get this information?
There's just so much stuff out there for people to ingest. If you don't believe us, you can go to one of our vertical videos on TikTok where I talked about the 8-bit camera that they used to film Star Wars Episode 2.
You made people so mad.
People were upset.
People were very upset about you talking about camera specs.
Yeah, but we'll intentionally ruin a cinephile's day later.
Yes.
So Kevin Smith, obviously famous fundraising where he didn't fundraise, which Lower Gentry Studios, we've tried that 3 times. Didn't really work out for us.
Well, hold on. Before you get too far away from that one, I would like to just throw a caveat out here. Kevin Smith applied for new loans for new credit cards even. Like he maxed all of them out in every way that he could. He did get some money from his parents. I've read somewhere before. I've heard that he had to pretend to be the owner of the gas station where they were filming to be like, yeah, he owns this place and confirm it, even though it was like complete fraud at the time. There are so many stories. I don't 100% know how much of those are true. But all that said, it was a huge risk and a huge gamble and a lot of debt accumulated. If Clerks had not been a success,
he would have been financially ruined.
He would have been very financially ruined. So to that point, has Lower Gentry Studios ever gone down the route of let's just get real far in debt because we know this is a success?
Oh, no, we've never done that. We've just learned how to do all of the technical things ourselves. So,
and I would say that might be the safer route for anyone watching and being like, oh, well, shoot, I'll just go get 8 new credit cards and max them all out and make my movie. I would maybe say don't.
I'd say do it. Just go for it. I mean, you only live once. Plus, like, whatever. It's just money.
I mean,
don't we live in a society now in the United States where you can just like bankrupt yourself or whatever? And
it's only on your credit report for what, 7 years?
I don't know. Yeah,
come on. That's a small price to pay for your art.
Yeah, and then just if that doesn't work out for you, start dating someone with good credit and. Convince them that your art is important and this time it's going to actually make cash. So I want to also talk about the first film that was, a famous film. It's probably not the first film that was released as an NFT, but a famous film that was released as an NFT was Zero Contact. And that was 2021, and that has Anthony Hopkins in it. And so they basically raised some funds selling it as an NFT, which I was going to look into how to make an NFT. And I started to research it, and I found social media platforms that automatically create NFTs when you post. And I was going to take all these notes and then speculated about it, just like a lot of white dudes on podcasts. Maybe you've heard of some of them that think they understand how things work. I don't know how an NFT works. I'm not going to explain that. If you're interested in releasing your movie as an NFT, you can do it. I'm not going to explain how to do that, but there is that option, I guess. And the only example that I could find online was Zero Contact 2021, Anthony Hopkins. And it did not do well as far as the Rotten Tomato ratings. You can look it up online. The reviewers did not like it. So I didn't want to watch the movie. I was just not that concerned about it.
You believed the reviews.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
Well, maybe I'll watch it some other time. I don't know how much it costs, though. Like, if it was an NFT, I know that's cryptocurrency. And isn't that like $100,000 right now?
Only for Bitcoin.
Oh,
like
okay.
Doge is way down. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, let's cut that into a vertical video and see what people say about it.
No.
So do you have any other examples of famous film fundraising?
I do. And I thought this one was kind of fun to go back to the alliterative moments.
Okay.
It's also from Idaho, so of course.
Of course, I know which film you're going to talk about.
Because there's only one that anybody knows. Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite.
So Napoleon Dynamite was created, from what I could find online, $400,000.
Okay.
Which I would not call micro budget or super low budget or zero budget of any, right? That's
but for a Hollywood film, that's super low budget.
It is. It's less than $500,000. So that is what they would consider insignificant, which, man, one day I just want to be in a position where I think $400,000 is insignificant.
It's just a mental state.
Is that it?
Yeah. You just got to look at your bank ledger and just see extra zeros.
It's like Nirvana.
Yeah, exactly. just meditate and then money comes out of nowhere. I don't know. But
you're back to sounding like a finance bro.
Yeah, there we go.
Just meditate on it. It'll come.
Yeah, your wealth is a mental state. It's not an actual. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So half of that budget, to be fair, came from the executive producer, Jared Hess. So $200,000 came straight from him. So,
Dang.
Okay, also a good chunk of your fundraising is now done and over.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the reasons they were able to do it so inexpensively was by...
Those were air quotes if you're just listening to the podcast.
Oh, my God.
If you're not watching it, she said inexpensively air quotes. Just want to make sure that those listeners out there know.
Oh,
So anyway, so one reason they were able to do it so inexpensively
was that they relied a lot on the community of Preston, Idaho, where they filmed.
Cool.
And they relied on their... Is it still an alma mater if it was your college?
I think so.
Okay, we're going to go with that terminology then.
So the Hesses went to...
BYU.
Nice.
Yeah. Jared...
Which is Brigham Young University, which is in eastern Idaho, right? Or is it Utah? Like I
think there's both.
Yeah, I don't know where they all are. But
there's a couple of campuses.
Brigham Young was the famous Mormon. He
barreled into... Few.
Well, he's the one that made Salt Lake City.
Yes.
Mormon.
He carried on the torch, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So BYU, they were alumni from BYU, and then
they were BYU alum who had already made a $500 film while in the BYU film program.
Okay.
And it did well and got into Sundance, I believe.
Oh, nice. That's a good bonus.
And I'm going to choke and die a little bit, so sorry.
That's okay. That's why we bring water.
That's why I have water.
So they were basically got into Sundance Film Festival.
Yes. So the school already knew them and already knew they worked well together. Mm-hmm. So Jared and Jerusha Hess wrote Napoleon Dynamite. And then, of course,
which is hilarious if you've never seen it.
It is really funny. And then Jeremy Kuhn, who also went to BYU with them, was like, yeah, I'll be the executive producer. Let's make this happen. Let's do this. And so all together, it's wild how much they did with that little money. It was a 22 to 23 shoot day project. I can't find confirmation on 22 or 23, so I'm going to leave it vague.
Sweet.
They edited it. They edited the film in 9 days.
Oh,
and
that's fast.
They got the camera through a Panavision grant. They got a bunch of extra help and gear and stock from BYU just for being alumni.
Yeah.
And then the entire community of Preston was like, let's do this together. Let's help you out. So their neighbors, their friends, their family were all hosting the cast and crew and letting them live in their houses so they didn't have to pay for hotels.
This is scrappy.
It was really scrappy. They got donated an entire storage unit full of period piece furniture, televisions, art, decor, everything that they were allowed to just use for free to create the whole living room space for Napoleon's house. It was awesome. Like they just did. It was a really scrappy community effort, and I understand that $400,000 is still a lot of money, but I was really impressed with it.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
That's a good story. So yeah, everybody should do that. Come on.
Yeah, lean on your friends and family.
Indie filmmakers. Like, what the hell are you waiting for? Just get your short film into Sundance and then get
your college to love you and support you and then go for it.
Yeah, but you need to go back in time to when college was cheap enough to go.
Yes. You will have to do that.
They probably got a really good deal at BYU back in the day if they were making that film, and they were probably making that in the 90s, early 2000s. I don't remember what year that was made, but
yeah.
04.
There we go. Yeah.
That was back when college was cheap.
Yeah. You could actually crowdfund your tuition.
Mm-hmm. So should we ruin a cinephile's day?
I think so.
This is a bit that Victoria and I came up with because sometimes I get my facts slightly mixed up.
Yes.
When I'm speaking, and then I'll turn it into a vertical video on the internet, and then I'll have hundreds of people correct me.
And sometimes it's not even that it's wrong. It's just that it's not the nuanced level of detail that they wanted you to go into.
Yeah.
Like how 8-bit is actually 8-bit per color.
Yes.
And people got very upset that you didn't call that out.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is like you would hope that people would know what 8-bit if they're working with cameras. But it doesn't matter because when Victoria does her thing and hashtags things with marketing, we get a lot of people that'll just see our vertical videos that actually have no interest in indie filmmaking. So let's let me just take a stab at this because we're talking about Anthony Hopkins. Man, this is gonna hurt when I say this statement. So I'm gonna cut this into a vertical video, and people are gonna probably, if it takes off, they'll rake me over the coals.
Probably
online, and this one hurts.
Okay.
So Anthony Hopkins.
Yes.
If he was so great, then why was Waterworld such a huge box office failure? I mean, come on, anyone should be able to look good opposite Patrick Wilson.
Okay, a lot of shots fired there.
So,
but also, I'm going to throw this out there. Perhaps Waterworld was a box office failure, but it is an entire franchise now.
Nice.
And possibly one of the longest running shows at Universal Studios.
Well, I was also making the joke that Anthony Hopkins and Dennis Hopper look kind of alike. So Anthony Hopkins wasn't even in Waterworld.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
You're right. He wasn't.
That's going to really upset people.
Oh, that's going to upset people for sure. Wow. Yeah. But I didn't even second guess it. Mm-hmm. I'm just one of those people on the internet that just believed you when you said it.
Hey, what you need to do is get a podcast and talk into a microphone, put some headphones on, add some compression to your voice, put a video on the internet, and then people might believe you. All right, what are you gonna convince people of?
I was gonna convince people that if Napoleon Dynamite can be a nationwide success, promoting what real Idaho life actually looks like for $400,000, shot in 22 days, edited in 9, maybe you're just not a great filmmaker if you're not able to do the same thing. Yeah, that's going to hurt. I am going to get man, and people just attack me for being a woman and a filmmaker. Apparently that's offensive enough.
All right, so we'll be releasing those videos on our vertical social media, and people that don't listen to the podcast will make negative comments at us.
But I am going to throw this out there. Please don't actually, just for all the podcast listeners, because obviously I care about you more. If you aren't seeing success with your film, please don't assume that means your film is bad or that you don't deserve to get credit or a little bit of, accolade for doing a film at all. Even if you aren't exceptionally proud of your film, you still did it and you still made it, and that's an accomplishment. Feel good about yourself.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of you. You should be proud of you.
I'm proud of you too. Let's talk about what we've done with fundraising. Because we're kind of running out of time now. We got a little sidetracked, but One thing that we figured at Lower Gentry Studios, we were trying to raise a couple $1,000s more. Essentially, we shot our film Stockton to Table Rock, which you can see on Amazon Prime right now, for $10,000 was the production budget because we did find a lot of people that were willing to volunteer.
Yeah.
As far as cast and crew is concerned. But the issue was we still had to get the locations that we needed and we still had to feed people. And so what my brother and myself and my sister-in-law did was we created a spreadsheet and started direct messaging as many people as we could on Facebook, basically until we learned how many people you could direct message in a day before you got your account shut down for spam, because one of us did have that happen. But the thing is, like, if you write a nice message and reach out to people individually, it does work, and it feels a little cringeworthy. But the thing is even yesterday I was hanging out with my brother, and he ended up going to an event based on somebody direct messaging him that we have a professional working relationship. But the thing is, one, people aren't necessarily going to know about your fundraiser on Indiegogo or wherever you have it on the internet. They're not going to necessarily see that because they follow you on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever.
No.
Because the algorithm is going to bury that because it's an outside link usually.
It's not even just that it's an outside link. It's if they haven't engaged with you a lot recently, then you're not even going to show up in their feeds. That's just how the algorithm works. It assumes that you want to associate with people that you're consistently associating with, or even if you're just like hate scrolling through somebody else's stuff, you're going to see their stuff show up more.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Like you just will. That's how the algorithm works because that's what you're interacting with. So if they haven't interacted with a lot of your stuff, or at least not lately, then you're going to get buried.
Yeah.
And then the outside link thing too. Most social platforms don't want people to leave the social platform. So they're not going to reward you for taking people off the platform.
But if you send people texts, if you send people Facebook messages, Instagram messages.
Better yet, phone call. Just call them, which is abhorrent in 2025. Nobody answers their phone.
Nope. Or just write a letter to the rich aunt, uncles that you have in your family.
Yeah, send out a Christmas card. You've never done it before. This year's your year. Send out a Christmas card and let them all know what you're working on.
If you get into contact with everybody. But we were very successful. What we did was, because we're family and even friends and people that work professionally in communities, you're going to have a lot of overlap. So we created a spreadsheet, and then as soon as we reached out to someone, we put their name into the spreadsheet first and last so that we wouldn't duplicate our efforts, because that comes off as a little bit
then it's
needy.
Really scammy.
Yeah, exactly. So I do recommend that it's a couple $1,000s, and potentially if you're doing something like a short film, everybody has enough contacts. If you say, hey, I'm going to send you a link to the film when it's done, this is a tester link or whatever, so it doesn't disqualify you from film festivals. It's a good way to raise some funds for your film. You just got to pester people, unfortunately.
And kind of along those lines, one thing that I'd kind of looked at recently was for crowdfunding. If you're working on a feature, but you can't send a link out to people to get the link for watch the movie. If you donate however much money, you'll get a link to see the movie. That's going to hurt your distribution efforts so much.
True.
But if you kind of break it up into, right now we're fundraising for X amount of dollars to film the first scene of the film, and we'll send you that. Perfect. If anything, that's just going to build your marketing and build your hype. That's a safer way to crowdfund than saying, well, we're crowdfunding the whole film right now. Go ahead and send us $5 and we'll send you the whole movie. You're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot there for any chance of recouping any of the money that you're putting into it yourself.
Which, if it's a short, to me, in my mind, it's like just do what you need to do to get the funds. If you want to make a film that you put through the festival circuit, then bother people. I'm sure you can get plenty of people to pay you $5, $10, $25 for a link. And I was really surprised at how nice it was because I reconnected with some people that I went to high school and college with, and they were really excited to find out that I was doing indie film stuff.
Yeah, because that's actually cool. You
some
get
of
to
them
hear
sent like decent chunks of money, like a couple $100, and it was like, oh, thanks. That was really helpful.
Yeah. Oh, that would be one thing I would do. Like, I know thank you card era is kind of bygone at this point, maybe, but if they donate and you sent them an individual
message,
ask, maybe send them an individual thank you that they know you specifically crafted. I think it's worth the 2 minutes that it would take to send a quick thank you text.
Yeah, for sure. And I always replied when I saw their name, like, hey, thanks so much. We really appreciate it. So
exactly.
What do you do as far as you have the opposite end? Instead of like trying to make more money, you have some tips on how people can just like slash their budget.
Yeah, I'm not going to say they're great plans because sometimes they kind of suck. But the number one way to cut your filming budget, right, is, well, I guess technically the number one way is to minimize your shoot, right? Get rid of at least one location, get rid of at least a couple of shooting days, minimize your crew. Like that above the line cost is going to be a lot. So the less you can have there, the better.
Yeah, make sure your script is succinct, as succinct as possible, your shot list. If you have an ambitious script, maybe just cut it down.
Yeah.
Which is something that we're working on right now because Lower Gentry Studios is making a horror film that we're excited about, but we have one draft. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see how much money we can raise, but it involves an entire town becoming vampires, and so that's not going to be feasible if we don't have enough money. However, we're going to look at an option where, it takes place in one location.
Nice.
So those will be, depending on what we can fundraise, is what we'll be able to shoot.
But how brilliant to have a complete backup ready to go where when you're going through your stages of fundraising, because you can do it in stages. You don't have to raise the whole budget all at once. When you're going through your stages, like, okay, at the beginning we raised 10,000. We were really hoping for 50.
Yeah.
Maybe we should look at that second script that's a little bit more feasible. Not because it's worse or lesser, but just because it's more feasible for that amount of money.
Yeah.
So I think that's really solid. Another thing you can cut is your crafty budget.
Yes, but you have some tips for that, which you gave earlier in an earlier episode, but let's reiterate this because it's a good one.
This one I do like because feeding people is going to be expensive. It always is.
Yep.
But if you can get catering in exchange for either just knowing the restaurant owner, right? Depending on degrees of separation wise, somebody is a manager at some restaurant somewhere.
Yes, they are.
And they might be able to be guilted into, okay, yeah, we can donate enough food for,
one lunch.
15, 20 people to eat lunch. Okay, we can do that. And it might not be the best. It might be sandwiches or something, but hey, it can be sandwiches. Another option that...
Shoplift. Oh, sorry.
I don't think I would go shoplifting.
Right on. You can't just go to the grocery store and just walk out with a cart.
I mean, you can, but I feel like there'll be repercussions.
Okay, cool.
You can do whatever you want.
Ask ChatGPT about that, see what they advise.
I don't think they're going to agree with it.
So sorry to interrupt.
Okay. No, you're good. The other option is to exchange for product placement.
Oh, yeah.
Which I had one producer. I did not have time to do it myself. So I just owe Cheyenne the biggest thanks in the world for being an incredible producer on this. She talked to, I think, every single restaurant and chain in the Boise area.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. And we got all of our catering covered.
And this was for the man who would not
shake hands.
Which is actually, you uploaded that to YouTube.
Oh, yeah. You can find that on YouTube now. If you look up Victress Finalis Films, which nobody's going to be able to spell.
Take a guess. We can just put a link in the description, too. So
you said it, not me.
I did, but we'll put it in there because I have to watch this again and check the subtitles. Okay. So you did that. Who was the one? You had a sponsor in there, but basically there was a kid holding...
a cup, and it was just a Dickie's barbecue cup.
Yeah.
And she was just drinking her soda, and didn't hurt that she's just like the cutest little girl in the entire world. Like, she's so adorable, and she's just looking up at this guy like, so are you going to be my new dad? And it's like, well, no, they're your neighbors. They just met. So it's awkward, it's cute, but it's a funny little moment from the film where they got to be featured and spotlighted. And in exchange for that, they gave us 2 dinners.
Oh,
for
nice.
the cast and crew for that.
And you
had
a big cast and crew.
We did.
So that's substantial.
That was not insignificant.
Nice.
No. So that was really, really helpful. and obviously, of course, give him a special thanks and everything. But actually, another thing I heard recently, there's no harm in asking, right? Because the worst they're going to say is no.
Did you hear that from me when I was telling everybody to ask all their friends for money?
No, but it did kind of, I started thinking about it then.
Time?
No, I started thinking about it then. Well, that's not the thing.
Yeah.
That's the premise. The premise is, the worst they can say is no. And if you're afraid of no, I challenge you to try harder to get more no's in a day so you get used to it.
Oh,
Hearing
nice.
no is actually not damaging. So set a goal for yourself that morning. Say, I'm going to go get 5 no's today. And it can be anything. You can go to a coffee shop, buy a coffee, and at checkout, just look at the barista and say, hey, can I have this for free?
Nice.
And to be fair, every once in a while, they might say yes. I don't know. It depends on what coffee shop you're at and what they're like. I don't know what the rules are. But odds are good. They're probably going to tell you, no, you may not. You may pay for this. And then that's it. It's over. The sting is done. Just get used to it. Get comfortable with no. There's nothing wrong with no, but there is something wrong with not taking the risk and asking.
Yeah, good point. And also get comfortable with failure if you're trying to make low-budget indie films.
Man, if you are a filmmaker, then get real used to failure.
I think that's all fun. I love no's and I love failure because it's like, you know, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But the exponential growth, though, is you just don't feel it. You don't feel it over the first several years.
I feel it every time I look back on something I made more than a day ago.
Oh, nice. I'm glad that you're growing more quickly than me. That's important. Do you have anything else that you want to cover before we start doing our updates on our projects?
I would say the only other option I really have for cutting your budget, and nobody wants to hear this, but when you're the project headliner and you're either, you're one of the key roles, your director, your producer, your writer, whatever it is.
Yeah, this one's going to sting too.
This one's going to sting and this one's going to suck, but it depends. What do you want more? To get paid or to make your art? Because many, many times I have had to just say, all right, I will not be paid for this. My cast and crew will be. Everyone involved on it will be. The locations will be there. The food will be there. But I know that I'm doing this pro bono. And that is not a long-term strategy for success. But for the right project, when you're passionate about your art and you just want to make the damn thing.
Yeah.
Just.
Sometimes you're the one that has to max out your credit cards and you're the one that has to sell your comic book collection to get the thing made.
But then you have an amazingly successful comic book shop in Oregon? I don't know where Kevin Smith's comic shop is. No, it's on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah, he's East Coast.
Yeah, it's like New Jersey or something.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's
Portland, Maine, or Portland, Oregon.
One of the two. I should have just said Portland. And
so you got an update from Dive?
Yes. So Dive recently screened at the Portland Under the Stars Film Festival.
Which was a blast.
It was so much fun.
Great turnout. So
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to them if you're on the Pacific Northwest. It's definitely worth the entry.
It really was. It was such a good time.
Standing room only on the last screening.
Yeah.
On the ground floor. It was a 2-level theater.
But I mean, the other blocks were not empty by any stretch.
Oh no.
Portland, Oregon is a community that will show up for their filmmakers. That is so cool. And though I will say at the She/Her Fest in Seattle as well.
Yes.
Was also really good turnout. That was surprising because there were only 6 films being screened there, and it was still a very full theater.
Yeah, which is awesome. We're in Idaho, so a lot of times when it's a up and coming art scene, you're just used to other people coming to watch their own thing at a screening.
Yeah.
Which, hey, that's where you got to start. But this was a couple film festivals where the audience was engaged and they were there to actually see independent art, which is super awesome. And they're not there to see stars because there weren't any.
No.
There were local people that were really talented, obviously,
Yes.
but then there wasn't anybody that's like a name on social media or whatever. I don't even know what the hell that is, why people care. But
They were not an influencer.
no, they weren't. Influencer, that's the word I'm looking for.
There we go.
Dude over 40, can't think of the name influencer. Perfect.
That's okay.
So Dive got an award
Yes.
at the Portland Under the Stars Film Festival.
It did. Won Best Twist, the M. Night Shyamalan Award. For
Yes. Best twist.
Which is fun.
I'm excited for you to share that film online. That was a good
I
one.
am too. And just recently got accepted to the Chicago Horror Film Festival.
Cool.
So that's pretty exciting too.
You'll have to keep us up to date on how it does there.
I will. Dive is cruising along and getting a lot of positive response, which makes me very happy.
And if you are unfamiliar with this, the plan that Victoria has is to turn that into a feature film you're working on the script currently.
Working on the script.
So the short film concept is a vehicle to hopefully raise money for the feature film script.
Yes.
And then you can pay everybody to make a feature.
Exactly.
Very cool. So I have an update.
All right. I want to hear it.
Lower Gentry Studios, we uploaded our Stockton to Table Rock film in May, I want to say, to... we used a distribution company that's self-distribution that I don't want to advertise because I'm kind of annoyed with them. But the Stockton is currently made $165.43 on streaming.
That is okay. I understand why maybe that's not the number you want it to be.
No. Not at a $10,000 budget, but
at the same time, isn't that like 3 or 4 times what your last feature on Amazon made?
True, it is. We made like $50 on our second feature film, We Speak. So it's on the uptick.
It's still substantial growth and improvement.
Yeah, and we're working it too. My Zoe and Bradley Elliott, who were the ones that co-produced this film, they went out to their neighborhood and just dropped cards in people's mailboxes as well, which I don't know if that's, I think it's legal.
Nope, it's not. You should not mention that it was in a
they
mailbox.
It wasn't in a mailbox. I misspoke. It was not in a mailbox.
It was on their doorstep.
Yes, exactly.
That was it. It was on their doorstep because...
We're local filmmakers. It had a link to the Amazon Prime
or they
rental.
Tucked it in the outside of the mailbox.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's how it was all done.
Yes.
Completely above board.
Absolutely.
But if you go around your neighborhood, you can, or send letters to people, things like that.
Yeah.
It turned into rentals, which was nice.
That is cool. And that's a really like grassroots style. We're just going to walk around and tell people about this film, quite literally.
Sometimes it feels like that's the only thing you have control over because the algorithm is so slow to build things up.
Yeah.
Because we've been doing this podcast now for we're on month number 9.
Month 9?
Yes.
Oh, if it was a baby, it would be incubated.
Yes, and it's still incubating because social media does not follow the same development as humans. It takes a lot longer than 9 months to build something up unless you're going to dump a bunch of cash in it. So, but if you have cash for social media, you might as well just spend it on your damn film.
Yeah, make the movie instead.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Were you going to add something?
Oh, I was going to say, but to be fair, we did get recognized by another filmmaker at the Portland Under the Stars Film Festival.
Oh, yeah, that was really awesome.
That was really fun.
We were chatting with...
Luke Zwainziger.
Oh, thank you for remembering. I remembered Luke, but I couldn't remember the last name.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, so now I feel like a jerk for just rushing right into that. But
thanks for chatting with us, Luke. That was great. He had a great film, a great horror film that he's working on a feature, and it's going through the festival circuit right now. But it was kind of fun.
Vines. It was so good.
Oh, Vines. Yes, that's the name of the movie.
Vines.
I don't want to give any spoilers away from that because I'm sure it's 20 minutes short. It'll be released somewhere. But it was kind of nice. So it does work to be on social media to try to find your audience. And we were chatting with him about his short film, complimenting him, and he's like, "You guys look familiar." And we're like, "Well, we have a podcast." "Oh, that's where I know you." It's like, "Oh, that's wild."
That's kind of cool. So
maybe we'll see you all at film festivals because we try to attend them as much as possible.
Very true.
Succinct farewell.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Bye.
Bye.